Good morning. We're coming to you from the Ford Room in the Rector Community Museum. We have a special guest with us this morning, Miss Kay Mays Huggins. This is our fourth try to get this recording. Well, our old equipment is just about to give out on us, and so we'll see if we make it through this interview. Good morning, Miss Kay.
Good morning. It's good to be here.
Let me get this light turned on so we. Yeah, that's better. Okay. So you grew up in the area down around Leonard, and so we're going to let you talk a little bit about that.
That was my first memories in my life were at Leonard. Lived there and was happy, good place for children to play, and a good community.
Oh yeah.
Real good.
Had a school?
Had a school. I remember my mother talking about school, and when she went, it went through the 8th grade. But when I went, it was through 6th grade. And at one time we had 2 rooms. We had 3 and 3, and then we had 3 rooms, and a room full of children. Every farm had 1 or 2 tenants and a house full of kids.
Yeah.
Oh,
And so you talk about that. It reminds me, technology. Pause on us. Okay, wasn't important. Maybe
wasn't important.
Okay, good. Back then there were schools, and within, I guess, 2 miles of each other.
Yes, there was a school at, I call it Lone Holly. That's what it was when I was growing up. And some people call it Tracerville now.
Okay, yeah.
But there was a school there. There was a school at Leonard, and a school over at Blue Cane.
Okay.
So that was about every 2 miles.
Yeah, I understand from the studies we've done with the library, with the museum, is that the kids didn't walk over a mile. So that's why that it was.
I think that's right.
2 miles.
2 miles.
And they wanted every kid to be educated. That at least have the opportunity to be educated. We all know that kids who didn't get to go past some. I had friends who didn't go past the 3rd or 4th grade because they had to work.
And
they missed so much school that they finally just quit.
There was no way to keep up.
Yeah. But some of all those kids, I guess you might say, were kind of what we call homeschool today, because they still learn to read and write and
take care of their business.
Yeah, the 3 R's.
Yes.
And so it's pretty amazing how that it worked back then. And so then you came to Rector School.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And
I went to the 6 years out there, and then came into Rector in 7th grade.
And graduated from here.
Yes.
Went to college.
Yes. And started teaching at Marmaduke.
And I bet a lot of people don't know that.
I taught 5 years at Marmaduke.
5 years at Marmaduke.
Before I came here.
I was talking to Leland. I think he said he taught like 4 years here and then 28 in Marmaduke, and that shocked me. I thought he was here for a long time.
Forever.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
And so a lot of the history is not maybe even as we remember it.
No.
So in school, as a teacher, when you came to Rector, you taught first grade? First grade.
1 year I had 1st and 2nd grade combined. There was an overflow room, so I had 1st and 2nd. But then after that, I just had 1st grade. That's the best.
Yeah.
That's what they want to learn. They can hardly wait to learn to read. and they are eager to do whatever.
their minds are wide open.
Wide open.
Yeah, and so you taught how many years here?
39
39 years
altogether,
including Marmaduke.
including Marmaduke.
Yeah,
39
yeah,
years.
39 years.
But it was 39 good years, and
Oh,
if
yeah.
I had it to do over, I'd do it again.
That's I was going to say 38, and I say the same.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, I think my whole life is if I had to do again, I think I would do it the same.
I could say the same.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
Well, good old rector.
That's small town America.
I think you're right. I think you're exactly right. And I think it's a lot easier to make us happy too.
Yes, yes.
So yeah. Well, let's go back a little bit to your teenage years. So how did you learn to drive?
My dad had a 1942 Ford car. And I learned to drive. First, they let me drive to church, which was a quarter of a mile. Then they would let me drive to the church and turn east and go about halfway to Blue Cane, where my uncle and aunt, the Trenthams, lived. But Daddy could stand in the backyard and see across the fields and see me. So I knew I better be doing the right way.
Don't kick up too much dust.
No, no.
Because that was sand out there.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
So did you have as much dust in the sand country as we did up on the hill?
Did I ever what?
Did you have when you were driving your car? Do you have as much dust in the sand
yes.
as we do
Yes.
on
Yes.
the west side of the tracks?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would just make a roll of sand, just look like a cloud.
Yeah. Wow. I drove down a little bit in that area about a month ago, 2 months ago, and I grew up in Boydesville, and Leonard may as well have been China.
Oh yes.
As far as we're concerned,
didn't know where it was.
Yeah, exactly. And many of my classmates, I have no idea where they lived.
Well, no. You
Yeah.
saw them at school, and that was it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, although on the weekends, we all came to town. You didn't.
Saturday night.
Yeah, I didn't go to like Paraguay. I went to Marmaduke and Piggott, but I didn't go like to Paraguay till I got back out of basic training and came back. It was just that was a long way.
A long way.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when I was 14, we went to Paraguay and bought a riding lawnmower at I don't know. I think it's called More Value or something. I can't remember what the name of but it was one of the big discount cities,
Mm-hmm.
and it was at Paraguay, and it was a huge deal to go to Paraguay.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so just running around town. Ford Theater was still going strong when you were a teenager.
Mr. Ford would bring he called it a show bill.
Okay.
It was like a
We have
poster
some.
board,
Yeah,
You've
we
got
have,
some.
Have
Mhm.
some over here.
And he would bring one out there to put in the store so people could see what was on at the theater. And we could go to the movie, Mother, Dad, and I, once a week. He gave us free tickets. So
Wow.
we went, and you walk up to that glass cage, and there was Miss Rose Ford. And I thought she's the prettiest thing
As
that ever
pretty as
lived.
the picture was.
Yes, she was.
Yeah, I worked with her in
Yes.
later years, and she was
She-
pretty. Didn't always have her makeup on every day.
And she was pretty. Her personality
Uh-huh.
fitted her
Yeah.
looks too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could, as you walked in, there was the popcorn machine, and you could get popcorn and a soda. So that was highlight for someone that lived in the country.
Yeah, because it cost a dime to get in,
Mm-hmm.
and popcorn and soda were they a nickel each?
I think they were a nickel each.
Uh-huh.
I think it was 20 cents for the popcorn and soda.
Yeah, so you could, for a quarter, you could get into the theater and have a bag of popcorn and 2 sodas.
Yeah.
Or a candy bar.
Yes,
Yeah, you
yes,
could
they
have
had
popcorn.
candy.
Yeah, they had candy. Yeah. So you could have popcorn, soda, and a candy bar, and a movie for a quarter.
And when they tore that down and tore that front out, I just thought Rector was ruined.
Yeah,
It lost our theater.
Yeah, if let me just run this back over here so they can see kind of what it was like. Here's the door. There was a door on the other side
Yes.
too.
Uh-huh.
These are the columns that we have standing in front of the stage here. Did you know
And you
that?
no.
Yeah, see those two
yes,
columns?
yes, I remember
That's
those.
these columns right here.
And when you went in, Mr. Ford was standing there taking your ticket too. I
Right,
mean, he
yeah.
took the ticket. He took up the tickets, Mr. Ford.
Where you from, son? That's what he say. Where you from, son? And you know, and he gave some free tickets out too, because we have
Yeah.
some of them over here. Some of the free tickets he would hand out, and you know, one of the funny story about the theater is that the boys could go next door or 2 doors down, whatever it was, to the pool hall, to the bathroom.
Yes.
But for the girls, the bathroom was over in the little park.
And that was a block away.
Yeah, so they, and that alley that's behind what used to be Purcell Drug, downtown drug, it was scary at night, and the girls
Yeah.
would have to go through there to get to the bathroom, or that's the way they would go because it was a shortcut, and they could walk down the sidewalk, but they'd run from one end of it to the other.
Yeah, I remember that.
And you know, and like I said, there was at least one pool hall, maybe 2 pool halls. There was a cafe there. Then there was the post office and flower shop, and then I think where the post office is, it was then became a flower shop. Wasn't there 2 flower shops side by side at one time? And
I
one
think
across
so,
the street?
and one across the street.
Yeah.
For a short time, I think.
Yeah, and of course you had Irby's on the east side of the corner, and Mitchell's on the west side, and of course in the block south of that, we had clothing stores and drugstores,
Drugstore,
and
clothing
bakery,
store, and yeah, the bakery was in that block.
and bank.
And then on the corner, there was at one time a bank, and then I believe that is where the first time I remember Sigsbee's Insurance. It was in that office.
Me too.
And my uncle, my mother's brother, Ray Davis, had the jewelry store in that same building that Sigsbee's was in.
My Janice, my wife, bought me a clock radio from there for birthday or something, and I still have it.
Well,
Yeah, and I saw you have Ray Davis clock on the, but I think we have a Ray Davis clock out here too.
You may have.
I think we do have
You
one
may
out
have.
here. Yeah.
I have one. You probably do from somewhere in town, but the one that I have that says Ray Davis was the one that was in the Methodist Church
Oh,
out
okay.
there. That's where
Okay.
he grew up.
Oh,
So
yeah.
he gave he said, I won't advertise my business, but I'll put my name on it.
Yeah. Well, he had a son, Alan, that was in my class,
Yeah.
and then the class above me was Regine Davis,
Mm-hmm.
and then he had two older daughters. that
Nadine and Glenda,
Yeah,
my age,
yeah, and
about my age.
and I've met Glenda,
And he built a little cabinet for doll dishes, a little play cabinet for his girls. Then he built one for me. And Regine, I talked to Regine this morning, and she's coming this afternoon to get that little cabinet to take to her house.
and all the dishes.
What goes with it.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. We just gotta preserve that stuff.
Yes,
You know.
yes.
Yeah. As we talked this morning, we're not collectors. we're preservers.
That's right.
You know,
Exactly.
And so whether if that is information or pictures or toys.
And I kind of wanted that to stay in the family. I
You
thought,
bet.
and Ray Jean said, oh, for sure she
Yeah,
wanted it.
Yeah, that's good. Because her dad made it, right?
Her dad.
Yeah,
Her dad made
that
it.
is.
Mhm.
Yeah. So across the street from, of course, the next was the little park. And while we were talking about the park, let's talk about the drawing.
Saturday night.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
It was a mob.
Yeah. And people would come early that day and park their car
Oh, yeah.
and then maybe walk home or, whatever. Of course, I guess those people probably walked there in the first place. But I've been told that people would park their cars earlier in the day so they would
Yes.
have a parking place because there were no parking places in
There
town.
was none. And people walked the streets. They walked up one side, down the other, and they might do that 2 hours.
Yeah, because there were lots of businesses,
Yeah, there was a business.
including coffee shops and bakeries,
Mm-hmm.
a bakery, and
Cafes.
one of the places that I loved to hang out was at Clarence Russ's shoe store.
Oh, that was a unique place.
It was.
And watch him beat on those shoes.
I'm really interested, have been all my life. We talked about this a while ago about how things work.
Uh-huh.
And I used to love to watch him repair a shoe or a shoe that you wouldn't even wear today, and he would repair them and they would look brand new when he would finish. Or a big deal when I was actually, I was probably in elementary when this was a big deal with all the guys, were taps on their shoes.
Oh, yes. Click, click.
Yeah, and especially cowboy boots. And you'd have these taps put on the back of your shoes.
Right at the back of the heel.
Uh-huh. And when you walked,
Click, click.
yeah.
Oh, and that was, the teachers hated that.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, I bet.
Oh.
and he did that. But another thing too is so I love doing this. It's what we call plaiting, I guess. You buy these long leather strips like shoestrings,
3 of them.
and you plait 3 of them together. And you can make whips. You could just do all kinds, make bracelets, necklaces, all kinds of stuff. And you learn to plait them different styles, and all this stuff.
And he would cut all that for you.
Yeah, and that was one of our fun things. You remember when the train hit the big truck?
Oh, yes, I do.
Well, I was standing on the corner of where Davis Jewelry was. I was about 6 or 7 years old, probably. And I would ride to town with my dad sometimes. He worked at Crockett's, and I'd spend the whole day. Well, and when it exploded, that stuff just went straight up. It just went everywhere, and that train hit it. And I just walked off and went up to Russ's. And I was hanging out up there. And this guy came in and said, "Oh, my gosh, everybody in town is looking for you." And I said, "For me?" And they said, "Yes." Said, "They saw you." I had been over there where the truck was, and they said they saw you before the train hit the truck.
Oh.
And nobody's seen you
They
since.
can't find you.
yeah.
Oh, my.
So I had to go back down to
report
to
in.
catch and find my dad. Yeah. So well, this is your interview, not mine. So, but so across the street then from there was the Western Auto there?
Western Auto. But the first was a frozen food locker.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that.
On the corner was the frozen food locker.
And was that Mann's? The same people had the one at Piggott?
I believe that's right.
I think it was.
And you prepared your food at home and then we put it in bags or anything that you could, containers, then bring it out here and freeze it. And then you could pick, each one had, you paid for a certain lock, they called them lockers.
Right.
And you come anytime you
Which
wanted.
some of them
And
were just a basket.
yes, a drawer like.
And
And then I believe next to that was the Western Auto.
yes, it was.
And then there was a little cafe in there called the Blue Plate Cafe. You remember that?
I remember a
And
cafe
then
there.
and then Thompson's Variety Store, which was
And
what we remember is Tommy and Melba down the street, but
yeah, but it was
it originated on Main.
which was her parents.
Her parents.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and that was in the spot where the bank parking lot is now. It burned 3 businesses: Pruitt's, Bearden's, and Thompson's.
Mm-hmm. And then upstairs there was a drugstore in there too. There was a Phillips drugstore.
But now, did it burn? Wasn't it like the next building?
The next building.
Yes.
And then over that there was an upstairs, and there was a beauty shop up there. Bernice Wooten and Sweet Hampton. You remember Sweet?
I thought that they were.
Well, now, when I was little, they were up there.
Okay.
They were up there, and they gave perms, and they had either a machine perm where they rolled your hair up and put up something on it, and then they clamped it, and then they turned that heat on, and that smoked like you were burning up.
Oh no! Was that the big one that had all the wires coming down off it?
Yeah. It was. Your unit was up in the top, I'm sure, and then the wires came down. They rolled your hair, then they clipped that on that roller.
Yeah.
I've had some of those.
Oh wow! Yeah, I remember seeing those. Of course, Janice being a hairdresser.
Yeah.
At one time, we had one of the hair dryers and chairs that came from, and I say we, Janice and I, that came from, I think it was Sweets, which was at that, the last time I heard, it was called Chicks or something, or Chicks or Chic. One, I can't remember what it was, but it was over Keith Hill's.
Mm-hmm.
There on the corner.
Yes.
And there was a lady. I got a call from my sister at the library, and she said, "There's a lady here that wants to visit the museum, and she has a story for you." And she was up there with her mother, and she was little. She lives in Dallas now, and she was up there, and she heard all this. She said it was in the summer, and there was no air conditioning, so the windows were raised up there, and I was looking out the window, and someone hollered. They were arguing, and someone hollered, "He has a gun." And my mother dragged me back from the window, so I didn't actually see the shooting, but it was when Marshall Green was killed.
Oh yes.
Yeah, so I have her. I have a tape of her talking about that, and so that was when there was a restaurant
on the corner. There was where downtown drug,
yeah.
And then going north, that corner, I call it corner building, where Keith had the gift shop. Then one time there was a clothing store there.
I remember that.
And then before that there was a cafe there for a short while, I believe, and a doctor's office upstairs, and I can't remember the name of the doctor.
No, I don't know the name either, but
Isn't that right?
I've been up there, and there were several offices
upstairs.
Yeah, that's a pretty good sized
pretty
building.
Good.
And I think it's storage now, but several years ago I went up there. I think maybe Keith took me up there when he first bought or whatever, and but that restaurant, if I remember right, had what we call a soda fountain. When we first went in, there was a counter there on the left, a real long counter, and there was a soda fountain in there. But I think when this happened, there was a restaurant like the next building from the drugstore south. And that's where the shooting, there's still holes in the wall.
From that.
And that it's kind of like porcelain brick, and you can see there's a couple holes there. We hope to someday have a walking tour, and that'll be on the
that.
walking tour.
Then when I was before I started to school, Mother and Dad had a store over by the river on on the Arkansas side of the St. Francis River, and he would come into town to get supplies, and I would always beg him, please let me go and let's go to the drugstore, because they had a soda fountain.
Mm-hmm.
And I sure did like those strawberry ice cream.
Well, so I think we may have missed this. Your grandfather opened the first store in Leonard, right?
Yes, yes.
And then
In the early 1900s.
early 1900s.
Uh-huh.
And then your dad, your parents, then took it over after that.
No, there was a man named German.
Oh yeah, we have the lamp.
The German,
Yeah,
and
from Mr.
his
German's
daughter was married to a Bearden that lived over here, where Lark lives. That was at one time. His daughter lived there.
Oh yeah, okay.
But yeah, I don't know how long he had it. We moved to Leonard in 1942.
Okay. So he had that between your grandfather and
my father.
Your father.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I didn't really know where German's store was. I mean, I knew it was Leonard, but I didn't realize it was the same.
That same store.
And-
Same place. It was a wood building. We have some old pictures of it somewhere. And then when we moved, it was the block building that you remember.
Okay.
With the concrete front porch.
Yeah, I started to say we have one picture of the Germans, and I think his whole family in front of the store,
Mm-hmm.
and it was pretty much run down then.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
I shouldn't say run down.
Well, it
older,
was old.
but yeah,
old.
older. Yeah, and so the one thing that people are really interested in is what all we had in Rector back in those days, and that's why I kind of follow up and down the street so we kind of get our interest.
Well, on the west side of Main Street, north of the bank, there were many buildings there that each one had some kind of business in it.
Yeah, what I can remember is Billy Allstadt's parents had a store there.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, it was Mr. Harden, was it?
Yeah,
Clayton Harden?
Clayton Harden on the corner.
And, someone told me that when it was like two-story,
Mm-hmm.
and but it was actually just had like a mezzanine in the back, and that all the bookwork went on upstairs.
I think that's right.
And so when you would buy something, the counter was in the back, and you would go back there, and you put stuff on the counter, and they make a ticket and send the ticket upstairs in a bucket,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and they would put their price in,
I've heard that. Mm-hmm.
and the total, and send the receipt back down to you. You paid for it, and however all that worked, but you put your money in a bucket, and they put your change back in the bucket,
I
send it
think
back
that's
down to
right.
you.
And
Yeah.
then there was there was a King's grocery
Okay.
in there. King's.
Next door. I
Oh,
think.
next door
Yeah.
was King's.
Uh-huh.
And that was, for the time, it was pretty modern.
Do you think that was, the next building north of the museum is the first Kroger in Arkansas?
I think I think King's building was between Clayton Harden's and the doctor's office.
But my question is that this Kroger went out of business because they were corporate and they didn't have charge accounts.
Yes.
And like here, like at your parents'
Oh,
store,
yeah.
your grandfather's store, people would buy all year and until, as long as their money lasts, they pay. But then when they run out of money, then they would charge until they got their crops out, and they would pay, and then start all over. And they couldn't do that. And so
No.
I think they only lasted a few years. But I understand that they moved south and changed their name. And became, and I, you know, I have to wonder if that's King's Grocery. I don't know.
I don't know.
And maybe a Mr. King here, you know, took it over and still bought from
May-
Kroger, but
It might have been connected with that King's Grocery.
yeah, and you know, and of course, like a lot, I say that a lot of the legends we hear are really myths. You know,
That's right. That's right.
They're because people like me make up stories. You know,
So maybe, and the next one says it was.
right? Yeah, and that's like, you know, on that half of the museum and Underwood Furniture Store and actually Calvin Furniture Store. Before that, this side was Calvin and that side was Irby Funeral Home.
Mm-hmm, I remember that.
And so my question has always been, so it burned. So it's not like they built a building and then moved into it. It burned, and so there had to be a time between the time it burned in 52 and when they built a new building, which I guess was 53 or whatever. And one of the people I interviewed said that they attended a funeral in either the next building or the next building over.
Well,
They remember.
Mitchell was over there.
But they were up here.
North,
Yeah.
up north,
That she said she went to a funeral
down this
down
way.
here, and she thinks it's this building, which was not this first one, but the next one to where Jane's dress shop used to be.
Yeah.
Next to where our doctor's display is. She thinks it was there, and I have to wonder if Irby's moved there for a short time while they were building the building across the
Probably.
street. I mean,
Very likely.
She even told me the name of the person whose funeral was.
So
Yeah,
well, that's very likely.
yeah, okay. Well,
And then there was, you remember Harold and Helen Donaldson?
oh yeah, uh-huh.
Well, Helen had a dress shop.
Uh-huh.
And it was over on I think it must have been between McNeil's and the restaurant.
Okay.
And it wasn't there but about a year or so when I was in high school. Because we'd love to come uptown and get a hamburger for lunch.
Oh, yeah.
And then we'd walk up Main Street and look in Helen's and see what she had in her window.
Look.
Look.
And then go
look.
home, and Mom would make the dress.
That's
as close
exactly
to that,
right,
almost
if
just
she
like
could.
it. Yeah, yeah.
I've
yeah.
had many of those.
I remember seeing my mother lay out newspapers and
Oh, yes.
draw these pieces out,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
cut out that newspaper and put it on the cloth.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's how I got a dress from Helen's through
Yeah.
Mother.
yeah, you know, I don't know if call me old fashioned, but it just kills me to see these kids with split jeans because my mother would not dare let me go uptown with a hole in my jeans.
Well, she patched it.
Exactly, and you know, and so someone said now that that's kind of a fad is to have patches. You remember that at one time she sewed the patches on. Then they came out with these iron-on patches.
Oh, iron-on. Mm-hmm.
And then they came out with the iron-on patches that went inside.
Yes,
They iron
yes.
on the inside, and because the ones on the outside tend to get pulled off. Kids playing or whatever, you know.
Or pulling on them.
Yeah, that's true. Too,
Get rid of it.
Yeah. So, let's see. Gosh, we've covered a lot of territory, haven't we? Anything that you can remember?
I think we pretty well covered it, Joey. I've enjoyed doing this.
Well, good. So I didn't ask you, do you want to talk about the future? Or is it still kind of
Well, I'm going to be moving to Fayetteville right away. And my health is not as good as it was. And my son, Mark, and his wife live in Fayetteville. and he's an embalmer, funeral director over there. And so I told him that he was trying to get me over there, so when he died, he could just fix me up and drop me in a hole.
Yeah, well, let's hope there's no truth to that.
No truth to that. No, I don't think
Yeah.
so. But I have enjoyed my life in Rector. People talk about, I wish I could have gone here or done there. I've just been happy as can be right here.
Yeah,
you
me
know,
too.
it's the garden's spot of the world.
Yeah,
It's the South.
Yeah.
And but I need to move closer to them, and
Yeah, it's just the time.
Just
Time comes.
the time comes when your life changes.
It's true. Yeah. Yeah.
And I
we-
just try to be gracious about it.
Yeah. Right. Well, you know that we're all really going to miss you. You know.
Well, thank
we-
you. I'll miss Rector.
Everybody loves Miss Kay.
There's no place like Rector to me. Other people, it'd be Paragould or somewhere else, but this is home.
Right. You know, one thing that we did miss, and which is, I think, really important for people to know, is that she's a charter member of the RHS Helping Hands.
Yes, I am.
And what was there, like 20 of you or something that started?
No
There-
more than 20.
Yeah, there was actually about 4 or 5 that got it started, but then they started.
It branched out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I remember remember the first time I heard anything about that, Bill Carter and Sherlyn Hamilton came to my house one Saturday before Labor Day and said, we've got kids here in trouble. They don't have what they need. We need to get them some help. Do you think you could help them? And I said, I'll do anything I can do. So it was Labor Day weekend, and Bill and you probably were in on this too. Bill and Sherlyn and Lisa Manchester and I made every reunion that was in town that weekend and told them, and they were everyone was receptive, and it's been an outpouring.
Yeah, no, that's
I
great.
think.
It's an awesome organization. They have branched out into scholarships now, and gosh, I forgot how many thousands, tens of thousands of dollars.
Every
that
year we
they give us
us
scholarships, and some of them are 4-year scholarships. too.
Yes, there are 4-year, and then there are. If we first started just like 4-year college, then we decided that a lot of these children needed a job and knew something they could do with a 2-year. So
Right.
we went to a 2-year,
Right.
and then we give sometimes just an amount, just a certain amount. But I think it is one of the best things that ever happened to Rector.
I agree. And they did things like tennis shoes.
Oh, yes.
for ball players.
Well, Lisa called me one
Yeah.
day saying shoes and said, I need you to go to Walmart if you could. And I said, okay, what do you need? Well, we have a little boy out here walking. He has a sole on one boot and the other one, the foot's walking on the ground. And he walked over a mile to catch the bus this morning.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. So she kind of found what needed, and I would go buy what they needed, Kids can't learn when they're uncomfortable like that.
Yeah. So a teacher would go to the counselor,
Mm-hmm.
and then they would get with Miss Kay, and she sometimes would take them shopping.
Oh,
Many
yes,
times
yes,
took them
many
shopping.
times.
Yeah.
And that was fun.
I hesitate to say this because I don't know if this is true, but I've heard, and of course I'm on the board, but and I think this probably, if true or not, this is probably what is one of the best description of that organization, is they bought a 14-year-old boy his first pair of underwear.
Mm-hmm.
And that's true.
True.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, you can't put that in a brochure, but
No.
I'm telling you that tells you what
That's how personal.
That's right. Yeah.
How personal it
that's
is.
right. and instruments for the band, just everything. So we thank you for helping get that started, because
You're welcome.
she was one of the first 3 or 4, and so
Bill Carter told me, I graduated with Bill Carter, known him forever, and he said he was somewhere in town anyway, and there was a child walking, and said he didn't have what he needed, and he grinned, and every tooth was decayed, and he said, I thought something's got to be done. So he was the instigator of it.
And worked really hard, and Helping Hands is good shape, and they're helping.
And we have that 5K now.
That's true. Yeah.
Which really helps. I mean, that has really helped a lot. We bought a lot of playground equipment one year.
Yeah.
You remember that?
That we have, and to give the school some credit, there were some things that were brought up to us as an organization to do, and the school said that's something we can do. We'll take care of that. And have we bought a couple of those? I'll call them umbrellas. I don't know what you call them. For the kids to get out of the sun.
Yes.
And
Yes.
those are
Those are real
super
good.
expensive.
And we have children playing ball on ball teams, and out of town games, they don't have money to buy. When they stop coming home to get a Coke or a hamburger or something, and we have provided money for them to have what the other kids have.
Yeah,
Try to make them all alike.
Where the coaches used to pay for that out of their
Yes,
pockets.
they did.
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
And when you're a teacher, people don't realize that, but a big portion of your salary goes to your
right back in
kids.
the classroom.
Yeah, and so Helping Hands has helped with that. I know that we give each teacher so much money at the beginning of school.
For supplies.
So we help with that, and so anyway, I'm glad that we didn't forget to do that. There's one other thing that I need to do before we hang up, as we used to say on the phone.
Yeah.
I said at the beginning that we tried. This is our 4th time to try to do this interview, and I'm stammering around here because I hate to do this, but I'd like, if you're enjoying this as much as it seems like people are enjoying it, as they do on PBS and those kinds of places, I'm going to ask that you consider making a donation to the museum, because we're going to be buying new equipment, and for this, I have plans on interviewing people from churches around that have a history of the churches. I'm going to go to some assisted living and interview some people who are living those places who knows a lot of history of Rector, and so we're going to need some equipment. So if you would consider making a donation, you can send a check to Post Office Box 313, Rector, Arkansas 72461. And those who are up on technology, I know my kids use Cash App for everything they do. So you can actually, we do have QR code for our Cash App, and our Cash App is $ Rector Museum, or you can just scan this QR code and it'll take you directly to our donation site. So if you consider, even if it's $5, if we get enough $5, we can buy some new equipment to do this with. Anytime you see a portion of the concerts we have here, and I'll be doing one interview that'll just talk about what our plans for this year are, and a lot of that will be done live. And so if you would consider a donation, we sure would appreciate that, because the museum is like any other organization. We don't have a lot of money. So if you would do that, Post Office Box 313, Our Cash App is $Rectory Museum. Anything else you can think of?
Can't think of anything. I
All
think
right.
we pretty well covered it.
Well, thank you so much, and,
Yes,
and
that's
good luck in your new endeavor.
when I get to the mountains.
Well, there you go, the other side of the hill.
That's
So,
right.
That's right.
That's right.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you.